Okay, this is the moment where I press record on all 45 2022 movies that I saw this year ranked. As you might know, last year I did the same thing. All 46 movies of 2021 ranked. I saw 46 movies last year, 45 this year, and so I wasn't able to beat my record. But I'm actually doing this. I'm doing this ranking at this moment. I haven't done this in a while, and so I'm gonna have to talk a lot. That's why I have a water bottle right here next to me. And so if you don't know, this is not going to be an edited video. It's going to be a continuous take, and it's going to basically be all the movies I saw this year ranked. I obviously can't remember the list right in my head. I have notes right here. It's on a screen. I'm just going to move this thing. You're seeing me setting things up a little bit before I do this. And so today is December 31st. This is the day I'm filming this video. And it is 3:52 p.m. And so this is a long time. I believe I will post this video on January 2nd. It's going to premiere on my channel. But it is premiering if any of you are watching this right now, or way in the future if you choose to watch this again. So this is going to be a continuous, unedited video of all 45 movies I saw in 2022 ranked. So, I'm going to talk a lot. Last year's video was like an hour and 5 minutes, I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at it right now, and this year, so I know this is a video that's going to be like over an hour. And so I am prepared. I am here to talk about every single movie I saw this year, and I saw 45 of them. Most of them are actually pretty good. Thank you to all of you who are watching this video right now in the year 2022. Thank you guys for subscribing, whether you left a like, commented, or anything like that. And this is gonna be a long time, and so get some popcorn and some snacks if you're gonna plan on watching this video for an hour straight. And I think I'm gonna do this short review of 2022 first. So what did I think of the year 2022 for movies? And to me, it's just not as good as 2021's year for movies, but it's still good. Like, this is still a good year for movies. Most of the movies I saw this year are actually pretty good, but if I'm looking at my notes here, there's this big chunk in all of my positive reviewed movies that I give, like, B's. And so there's a big chunk of movies where I give a B. But this is a year that includes some of my favorite movies of all time, which is my number one spot if you saw my top 5 best of the year list. And so, yeah, alright. This is what I'm going to start talking about. All 45 movies I saw this year ranked. So, here's what we have. This video is not going to be scripted, so I'm just saying things from the top of my mind. Number 45, and if you saw my worst of the year list, you probably know where this is going. Number 45, Morbius. The worst movie of the year. In last place of all 45 movies, Morbius. And this is a movie that when I first saw it in the theater, it was entertaining enough, it was fine enough. It obviously hasn't aged all that well. And so, this is a movie that, it's just not good. Like, the visual effects look kind of cool, but other than that, it's just not very good. Our villain, Milo Morbius, in this movie, he is a villain for no reason. He kills people for no reason. He doesn't have a motive for why he's doing the things that he's doing. And so that just really confuses me about this particular project. And then, also, adding on to that, this movie spawned so many memes. I bet throughout the course from April Fool's Day, when they released this movie, up until December 31st, the day I'm filming this video, you have seen at least 355,359,243,001 memes on this channel. Not on this channel, but in general. And that was the first number that came to mind. I was making things up as I went along. And so, and what's even more ridiculous about this movie is because of all these memes, they decided that Morbius would probably make more money if they re-released it in theaters, which is just absurd to me. And then it bombed once again. It montages through some of its plot, and it just feels like it was directed by a bunch of people sitting in a boardroom, tossing around this movie a lot, not knowing what to do with it. And that's really a shame. You just have to feel bad. The director, the producers, their names were put onto this project. And it's not very good, obviously. It's not really a watchable movie. I mean, it's watchable enough, but not one I would rewatch. And so, number 45 is Morbius. Number 44, The Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. This is the 6th film in the Ice Age franchise, and it is dreadful. It is dreadful. If you have not seen this movie, it'll ruin some of the aspects of the Ice Age franchise. The animation looks a lot cheaper than the animation we got before. Only one member of the cast of the original 5 Ice Age movies returned for this film. Simon Pegg playing Buck Wild, and which is a really odd choice, but that's because this movie's a very cheap movie. If you guys don't know the backstory of this film, basically it was initially planned to be a TV show, but then they converted it into a direct-to-streaming movie, and you can definitely feel that with this film. And so it's very cheap, not really entertaining. At the beginning of the year, I wasn't expecting top-tier Ice Age movies. I was just expecting middle-tier Ice Age spin-off. That's not what this movie turned out to be. It turned out to be just a total misfire that I just really didn't enjoy. And right at the beginning, this movie came out on January 28th, and here we are, 11 months and 3 days later, and it is still one of the worst movies of the year, second worst movie of the year in particular. It's just cringe-inducing from beginning to end, and it might have worked better as a TV show, but even the fundamental problem of the story of this movie is that our 2 lead characters are not at all designed to be the lead characters of this story. They're just designed to be the guys in the background, the side characters. And so I don't know what they were thinking with this movie, putting these 2 in the leads. And so, yeah, this movie's just a dreadful, cheap addition to the Ice Age franchise. Okay, what do we have next here? Yeah, number 43, Pinocchio, 2022 from Disney. Now there were actually 2 Pinocchio movies this year. This Pinocchio I'm talking about right now, and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which we will get to. I actually place it very high on this entire list. So we're going to get to it in a long time. But then we have Pinocchio 2022. This movie has no excuse for how bad it is. It is directed by Robert Zemeckis. Obviously, one of the best directors of all time. I mean, he directed Back to the Future. He directed Forrest Gump. Some of the best movies of all time. It stars Academy Award-winning actor Tom Hanks in it. And somehow, they just made a really cheap, lazy Disney remake that they spent $150 million on. And it just seems like it's there to make money. And when you realize that, it just leaves this sort of sour taste in your mouth as you realize they made this movie for the entire purpose of making money, because live-action Disney remakes like The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast made over $1 billion. Both of those movies are in like the top 20 highest-grossing movies of all time. And this movie was made just to make money. And I just, like, some of it has all these pop culture references that seriously don't fit with Pinocchio. Like, at the very beginning of the movie, it shows a montage of Geppetto's clocks, and each of them include Disney characters, whether you're talking about Woody or like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and Donald Duck. It's just confusing. Why would you do that? Like that doesn't match the 40s golden age era in which the original Pinocchio was released in. Beyond that, it has more pop culture references that people speak of. Like there's the sequence where Pinocchio meets the fox and then goes to the circus. Like he suggests his stage name is Chris Pine, which I don't get why. There's Robert Zemeckis decided to put all these pop culture references in it because it absolutely does not match it. It just removes all the charm from the original Pinocchio and replaces it with some creepy looking CGI and visuals. And it's just not good to me. Like, there's no reason, like many of these live action remakes, there's no reason to rewatch this movie when you could just watch the original Pinocchio. And so, it's just not good, and I'd probably never rewatch it. If I didn't do this YouTube thing, I'd probably never watch it again as a normal person. Number 42, The Man from Toronto. If you guys don't know what this movie is, it is an action comedy movie starring Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson. I could already be sold on that specific idea itself, but from there, it has an interesting premise about two characters getting their identities mixed up together, and one has to be the action hero, the clumsy action hero, and one has to train him to be not a clumsy action hero. But the movie is dreadfully unfunny for a comedy. Like, I don't even know what they were trying to do with this film, but whatever they were trying to do, it obviously did not work. And so, it's dreadfully unfunny. Like, the comedy in this movie mostly is Kevin Hart yelling out his lines of dialogue, which may have been funny the first couple of times, but throughout the movie, it's just this running thing. It becomes dreadfully painful to watch, dreadfully exhausting, and it's just not good. Like, and then the movie itself has basically just Kevin Hart doing dumb things. Like, at a point, he vomits on somebody and pukes on somebody. Like, I do not know what they were going for with it. So this movie is just an unfunny comedy. It's a waste of Woody Harrelson and Kevin Hart's talents. And it's just dreadful. And then we have, closing off our bottom 5, number 41, Halloween Ends. Now, this is the conclusion to the trilogy of Halloween movies, and I did find a little bit of the ending a bit satisfying, but this movie is not good, like, at all. I did not like it. And as time passed, it has only gotten worse with time. And so basically, this is supposed to be the conclusion for the trilogy, but instead what this movie made very clear to me is that they simply did not have enough material for a trilogy of Halloween movies, and they just wanted to expand the story as much as possible, stretch it out as much as possible. And so, what does this movie actually do in the process? It makes Halloween Kills worse, because in Halloween Kills, Michael Myers has to be unbelievably indestructible, and characters are not the smartest in that movie. And I think they kind of wrote themselves into a corner and want to stretch out this particular movie for as long as possible. So the story that they actually wanted to tell here was about this new character, Corey, who actually wouldn't mind if it was set up in maybe the previous two Halloween movies. But no. They give him this entire backstory at the beginning. Something a bit interesting to me. But they didn't know where to go from there. So we stretch out this long period of time where Corey transforms into a serial killer and encounters Michael Myers a few times. Like, I couldn't believe it. All this time. Like, Corey is the main character of the movie, and Laurie and Allison, of course, are side characters in the mix, but Corey might actually get the most screen time dialogue of all of the characters in this movie. I mean, there's literally a scene where Corey pushes over Michael Myers. He's all like, you know what I want. I'm going to take your mask. And he takes his mask. And Michael Myers was supposed to be indestructible in Halloween Kills. Even the logic here, Michael Myers was indestructible in Halloween Kills. But then he's defeated by Grandma Laurie Strode. And he's not able to be a 60-year-old woman. Which is just baffling to me. That's the sort of lapses in logic that it has. And then, even from there, yeah, Michael Myers, grabbing Corey by the throat at this one scene, and him, seeing the evil in him and letting him go, but what they've set up before, it's clear to me that Corey was not actually a really bad guy. And so, I didn't really understand that scene too much. And then Michael Myers still wearing his mask in the sewer. There's just so many lapses in logic here that just sour me on the movie. And then again, back to my original point, you spend an hour and 20 minutes with this character Corey, who doesn't even make it to the finale. He dies before the finale. And he dies literally right before the finale. And so that's just a waste of time the entire time. If you took the last 20 or 25 minutes of Halloween Ends, cropped it, put it onto Halloween Kills, with that final showdown between Laurie and Michael, all of a sudden, Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills are better. But they decided not to do that. They decided to make it a trilogy, and in doing so, just sabotaged themselves. And this movie is just not good. It's only gotten worse with time. And if you're gonna watch a Halloween movie, probably gonna pick something else. And so that closes up our bottom 5. You probably already knew where this was going if you saw my top 5 worst movies video. But let's move on. Number 40, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules. So this is the sequel to the first one that came out back in 2021 that I wasn't normally a big fan of. There's not much new to add in that movie other than the novelty of seeing it in animated form. Jeez, I have been talking so long. It's been about 19 and a half minutes, but I'm going to be talking for much longer than that. And so, alright. So where was I? Diary of Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules. So in the first Diary of Wimpy Kid, there was only the novelty of seeing it in animated form. And then here, the way to describe it is just, yeah, it was okay. But the problem here is, we've seen it before. Roderick Rules was adapted in live action back in the year 2011. back 10 years ago, or 11 years ago, actually. And this is just a rehash of that movie, but that movie was done better. Because Rise Rules is the best movie of this Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie franchise. And I like it. I like seeing these Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies in animated form. I have a collection over there on the shelf. No, those are the Blu-rays, but on the bottom there are a bunch of books. Somewhere under there, there are the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. I'm looking at them right now. And I enjoy Roderick Rules, the book. It's fun to see in an animated form, but I think it was adapted much better back in 2011 because it's just that this movie was sort of a rehash. It was just sort of there, and so I don't have much to say about it. Number 39, Hocus Pocus 2. Now, this is the sequel to the original Hocus Pocus. I had not seen the original Hocus Pocus until maybe the day before I saw this movie. And it is the original. I'm not really a big fan of. I'm being honest. It's okay, but I'm gonna watch one of Disney's classic live action movies. I know a lot more that are better than Hocus Pocus. And Hocus Pocus 2, I would say it's a little bit worse than the first one. First of all, I think I saw it around September, and about a week later, I think I forgot what happened in it. That's a big problem there. Disney Plus sequels, they have a tendency to be, especially this year, they have a tendency to be like lazy sequels using properties that they have. And so they have Hocus Pocus. They did one. They did one for Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I just talked about that one. They did one for Ice Age. They did a live action remake of Pinocchio. And so a lot of the Disney Plus projects, because they have properties that are nearly low on this list. This movie's charming enough. Never gonna rewatch it. But I would also never rewatch the original. And then at the end, they try to do this like they try to make something like satisfying by having this sacrifice for power by one of the witches in this movie, which doesn't seem like something you might actually want to happen in this film, but it's okay. But it's just kind of there, and I don't really have much to say about it because it's forgettable. I forgot almost everything that happened in it, and I'm not joking. Where was I? Number 38, Hotel Transylvania Transformania. Hotel Transylvania 4. So, this was a very early release this year. As for me, I grew up watching the Hotel Transylvania movies all of the time. Back when I was maybe 5, 6, or 7, I saw these movies all of the time. And so they were fun to me back then. But and nowadays some of them are fun to me, especially the first and second ones. But even as a kid, like I saw Hotel Transylvania 3 in the theater, and I thought something was a little bit off. And something was off because I still don't like the movie right now. Then the fourth one comes out, they drop it on Amazon, and I mean, I guess it's fine, but it's just one of the lower movies of this franchise. I'd say it's better than 3, but worse than the first 2. The thing is, it's because it just feels a bit derivative of a bunch of other movies we've seen before, like Freaky Friday, or the slasher movie Freaky that came out a couple of years ago. And so it just feels derivative of movies like those. And I haven't seen this movie since January. I've only seen it that one time. And so if I rewatched it, maybe my opinion would change on it. But as of right now, I just didn't like it. The story to me is a bit predictable. I think I could see where everything was going. And so, yeah, this is a movie. for whatever reason, it gets a bit ridiculous to me near the end. You have the lead character Dracula getting this like character arc or something, and just seems a bit. Something just felt a little bit off, and so again, this is from the top of my mind. This is not scripted. And so it's okay, I guess. It's fine. It's harmless, but it's just totally forgettable. Number 37, Disenchanted. Another Disney Plus sequel to a property that they do have, and one of the movies that you saw on the thumbnail of this video. Okay, so Disenchanted. If you guys don't know, I thoroughly enjoy the original Enchanted film. I just think it's really charming, a really fun movie, and I just think everybody was perfectly cast. Like James Marsden is in it; he's perfectly cast. Amy Adams is in it, and she's perfectly cast. But then you also have like Patrick Dempsey and you have Idina Menzel, and so it's just a great cast, and they're all put perfectly into Enchanted. And I think that it takes influence from other Disney films correctly, plops them into an animated / real world setting. It just works. It was about an animated princess who found herself in New York live action. I thought it was a lot of fun. Then we got the sequel, Disenchanted, and I was really confused when they first announced this project. Like, why aren't we getting it? Why aren't we getting a sequel to Enchanted? Do they really have enough room for that? And it wasn't as bad as I was expecting, but certainly not good to me either. This is a movie that, it's just that I think it kind of lost. You could just tell the magic is not there as it once was in the first movie. At its core, it's basically this mother trying to bond with her daughter using a wish from a magical something magical. I forgot what it was, and watching it at this age, it's a bit cringy. Like, to me at least. It's good enough, fun enough. But if I'm gonna watch an Enchanted movie, I'm just gonna go back to watch the original. You know, it has all the tropes of princess movies, of high school coming of age movies, but not one that I'd probably rewatch, I'm being honest. And so, yeah, it's not a good movie. It's an okay film, but it's not really that good. Number 36, Catwoman Hunted. So, if you don't know what this is an animated Catwoman movie that is a direct-to-video movie. I saw it for the first time a few months ago, and it is not for me. This is a movie that, yeah, like a lot of these movies right here, like from number 40 through number 40 through like this little chunk here. This is a lot of forgettable stuff. And so you have Catwoman Hunted, which is an animated Catwoman movie. It's fun enough, amusing enough, not necessarily good, because it was not for me. I even forgot the story of this movie. But it's fun enough. It's just a little bit of fun here. What do we have next? Okay, number 35, another direct-to-video DC movie, Green Lantern, Beware My Power. So, I watch these Tomorrowverse movies. They're always a nice little breath of fresh air. Last year, we had Batman The Long Halloween Part 1, Batman The Long Halloween Part 2. I really enjoyed both those movies. Easily the best films of this Tomorrowverse. And then the follow up, the next film in this Tomorrowverse was Green Lantern: Beware My Power. And again, maybe the worst film in this Tomorrowverse so far. It's not that it's bad or anything. I try to go easier on these direct-to-video films because I know that their budgets are a bit more limited than theatrical cuts, than theatrical releases. But then this one was something was just a bit more forgettable than the rest of the movies in this franchise. And this franchise just started in like 2020. There are like 5 movies in it so far. And so it's okay. It tells entertaining. It's paced at a nice pace. There's still some interesting ideas here and there. But yeah, it's not that good. And what I mean by that is that it's really forgettable. And if I'm gonna watch a Tomorrowverse movie, I'm probably gonna watch something else. And so, those are the only 2 direct-to-video movies on this list, actually, and they're right next to each other. So, let's move on to the theatrical cuts that I saw yet again. Number 34 is Rescue Rangers. So, this is a film that a lot of you guys, I know a lot of you guys absolutely love it. For me, though, I did not grow up watching Rescue Rangers, and I have no nostalgia for Rescue Rangers. I've been to Disneyland a few times. I've seen them walk around, but I have no nostalgia for Rescue Rangers. And so this movie, it just doesn't connect with me as much as you guys do. Now, granted, I really enjoy all the fun cameos and fun things about this movie, where they're able to take these animated characters, bring them to life in a live-action world, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the movie. You get ugly Sonic in this movie. That was something that really threw me off and surprised me. And so, yeah, that stuff like that was cool. But then it has this mystery about a missing friend that I just don't necessarily care about. And when these 2 chipmunks are searching for them and recruiting other people and stuff like that, I think the actual way they find out stuff is based sometimes on contrivances and coincidences. We're at the point where my brain is starting to get fried. Okay, contrivances and coincidences in order to move the plot forward. And in addition to that, I felt like at times this is a film that was a little bit incomplete, if you asked me. I thought that it had a cool beginning, middle, but then it had no resolution. Then, like, this machine thing that's supposed to convert you back is destroyed, and then they find their friend all messed up with, like, elephant ears and weird legs and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it just felt like it didn't have a resolution. It just ends there with them, like, looking at helicopters or something. Sorry, I've only seen this movie one time. I don't remember it completely. I could be wrong. But, yeah, I just felt like there could have been a better resolution. We could have seen a little bit more. And maybe that it would be put a little bit higher up on this list. Or, if I had more nostalgia for Rescue Rangers, it would have been higher up on this list. Anyways. Number 33. Cheaper by the Dozen. Another Disney Plus sequel, or no, reboot. Disney Plus sequel, reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it. Oh, and Rescue Rangers was also a Disney Plus something. And so, yeah, I don't know what happened to Disney Plus this year. So, Cheaper by the Dozen. This is a reboot or remake. I haven't seen the original Cheaper by the Dozen. This is a reboot remake of Cheaper by the Dozen is another retelling of the story. And it's amusing. It's fun enough. It has these nice family dynamics. I think it would have worked a lot better as a standalone TV show than an actual film. So it's solid enough family entertainment without necessarily being good family entertainment. And so this is it's fine. It's solid enough, I guess, but it's just kind of there. Like I wouldn't say, hey, let's put on Cheaper by the Dozen 2022. Like I wouldn't just say stuff like that. I wouldn't just put it on. And so, yeah. Whew. It's getting a little bit dry again. It is 4:26 p.m. and I have made it 36 minutes and 6 seconds into filming. So, number 32. I have something to present here. Thor, Love and Thunder. This is Gore from Thor, Love and Thunder. And so, Thor, Love and Thunder, it's just a film where, it's probably the most disappointing film of this year. Like, this is a movie that it was one of my top 10 most anticipated movies of this year at the beginning of the year when I released that video. And then, for whatever reason, it just ended up to be so goofy that it lost itself. Like, this is a movie that when it first came out, I enjoyed it enough. I actually did give it a positive review when it first came out. But then a week or two passed. It didn't age particularly well with me. And so, I mean, it's fine. But they sabotage themselves way too goofy. So, you have Christian Bale as Gore. Yeah, Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. Gore the God Butcher. But he's not butchering gods. That just seems like a really odd choice for a movie like this. And, it just seems strange that he doesn't butcher gods. Yet, like, they introduced this place in the movie, full of gods. This place that is full of gods. There's gods all over. And Gore doesn't butcher gods. Instead, we see Thor butcher more gods. We see Jane Foster, Mighty Thor, butchering more gods than Gore. It's just such an odd choice to me to do that. And so, it's not very good. Has not aged well, and I have not ever had the urge to rewatch it. Another thing here is that the goofiest things about this movie is, like, one of the most goofy things is that it includes a love triangle between Thor and two hammers. Like, the final battle, he literally talks to Stormbreaker. He's like, Stormbreaker, I'm sorry for blah, 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 blah. It's just not good. He's just like, Stormbreaker, we were just talking. I was just talking with Mjolnir here. Just doesn't work. Like, at all. He plays it like a live action cartoon. And you have, like, Zeus flicking off Thor's clothes. That's the sort of thing that sours me on this movie. It's such a disappointing addition to the MCU. I can't place it particularly high on this list, and so it's at number 32. Number 31, another Disney Plus film. Whoop! I think I shaked the camera a little bit. Number 31, Turning Red, another Disney Plus film that's not a sequel reboot, but it is a Pixar movie released on Disney Plus, and it is not good. Like, I don't think this, like, Pixar movies, I would expect better from Pixar. But this is a movie that is just a bit sour when you leave the film. The entire plot of this movie revolves around a girl turning into a panda when she gets emotional. And throughout the movie, there's a group of 13-year-old girls who find out how attractive that they are, which is a really odd topic to put in your children's film. It's about girls going through puberty and having their periods. Like, I just don't understand why you would have that in your kids' movie. And it's just really distasteful because of that, because you know that this is Pixar making a movie with these topics. This is what the turning red metaphor means in the very title of the film. The movie contains weird quotes. It contains quotes like, "My panda, my choice." That is an abortion reference put into a Pixar movie. Like, I just don't get it. It's just not good. It's a very, very disappointing addition to Pixar. One of my least favorite Pixar movies. Like, I just... If I didn't do this, if I didn't watch movies, and I saw Turning Red, I'd be like, yeah, I would be okay if I never watched this movie again. And so, just a really disappointing movie. Alright. I need to take another drink of water already. Like, this is the point of the video where my brain starts to get fried a little bit, because I am 41 minutes and 33 seconds into filming. Anyways, what do we have next? Alright, so I'm looking at this next chunk here, and this is a bunch of stuff that I give like B minuses, C plus. And so this is the one right in the middle that I'm not sure if I go positive or negative on. Alright. So, what do we have here? Kicking off the top 30. We're at the top 30. I still have a long way to go. Kicking off the top 30, The 355. This was the very first movie I saw this year. No joke. It came out the first week of 2022. This one came out. I went to go see it. I had not heard of it until that week. And what hooked me to it was that it was an action thriller starring a bunch of great A-list actresses. Lupita Nyong'o, Jessica Chastain. It even has Sebastian Stan in it. I'm not sure if I go positive or negative on it. Like, at this point, I'm even thinking about that right now. It's a movie where there's some nice action sequences. It's fun enough seeing all these actors interact with each other, but it's just forgettable. It's just plain forgettable. But at some point, this was my favorite movie of the year because it was the very first movie I saw of this year. And so, it's fun enough. It's good, but it's just sort of there. You know, if you know what I mean. Like, it's tough to really describe whether I go positive or negative on this movie because it has so much things that I enjoy about it, but then it also has just some things that don't really work for me. It has some plot problems, story problems, but it has some nice action here, which is what I go to an action movie for. And so, yeah. So, this is a movie that's just a bit more generic than it should be, because I like generic action movies. But if I'm gonna watch a generic action movie, I'm gonna pick something else. All right. I can say that safely. All of these next movies here, from 29 to number 1, I go positive on. I would say yes, I go positive on that movie. I would recommend that. And so, let's get right to it with the 29 movies that I actually enjoy. Number 29, Strange World. This was a movie I wasn't able to see in the theater because my dad refused to take me to the theater to watch this movie. So it dropped into C+. I finally saw it, and it was certainly disappointing. But I still enjoyed it enough for me to give it a B-. This is a movie that I think should be a lot more fun than it actually is, though. it's a very, very flawed film while also being a bit enjoyable. From the very beginning, like I really enjoyed exploring this strange world. I enjoyed sort of the setup and payoff of this movie, and exploring everything here and there. I just really enjoyed those aspects of it. But then, I mean, it's also just a movie that, like, the main characters in this film are just so unlikable, and the sun is starting to set out there. The characters are just so unlikable. That, like, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, the main character, it doesn't make sense what he's doing. Like at the very beginning, he like rejects his dad. He doesn't want to be like his dad, but then treats his son like his son wants to be like him, which does not make a lot of sense to me. Another thing here that's just really strange is that I think that they made some of the characters a bit too unlikable that you don't want to go on this journey with them. And so that just sours a bit on the strange world aspects that while you're having fun exploring all this, you're on this journey with characters you don't want to be on. And so it's just really, really odd. And as of right now on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm pretty sure it has like a 70%, so it's not one of the best Disney animated movies out there. And so yeah, that's what I gotta say about Strange World. Didn't get to see it in the theater, didn't get to release review. That's my take on Strange World. Anyways, I'm missing a little bit up here. Hold up. Okay, number 28, Moonfall. This is a Roland Emmerich disaster film. Roland Emmerich has done several disaster movies. Basically, this one came out early this year. It's a bit bizarre, I would say. This is a movie that I think definitely has all of the ridiculous aspects that you want from a film about the moon falling to Earth. It has all of that ridiculousness just put into the movie like this. But then it's also just a bit too ridiculous. Like, you get 60% of the way in the movie, you think it's going someplace, and you're partially, and I was partially correct. But then there was this big twist, and I'm just like, no, that's not at all what where I was expecting this movie to go. And so, while I love these ridiculous movies, these ridiculous disaster movies, I didn't, this movie went a bit too over the top for me. And so, yeah, it's fun, it's enjoyable, I go positive on it, but, yeah, it went a bit too over the top. Number 27, the DC League of Super Pets. This is the DC Super Pets animated movie, and as a fan of the DC characters, I naturally enjoy this movie, but it's like a B- enjoyment because this movie's a bit kiddish for a 13-year-old kid like me. Anyways, so this is a movie that it's good. I would say it's really good, but like I said, it has this childish nature to it. It's a natural boy and his dog story, or Superman and his super dog story about a dog trying to gain proper approval from his master. It's good at doing that, but I think that it's a bit too kiddish. This movie is targeting 8-year-old kids, and there are a bunch of movies targeting 8-year-old kids that I really enjoy, but there's a bunch of like fart, low-hanging fruit humor, and so it's maybe very good. Once again, I'm saying this from the top of my mind. I've done more elaborate reviews on this movie, but this is just from the top of my mind here. There is a talented voice cast. I had a lot of fun with them. You have Kevin Hart, Dwayne Johnson, obviously in the leads. But then you have like John Krasinski, Keanu Reeves as Batman. That is a great cast there for an animated movie. And I don't know if you guys can hear this, but there's something that sounds like it's from a car. Oh, it looked like it just rained out there. That was weird. It's really distracting me. Anyways, I'll try to focus on this. Number 26, Beast. If you don't know what this is a movie about Idris Elba. Oh, look, it stopped. Idris Elba battling a lion. And it's an enjoyable action movie, is what I could say. This is a film that, if I'm in the mood for an action movie, I watch Beast. I get exactly what that I want. It's short enough to make it accessible. It works really well. If you like seeing Idris Elba battling a lion, luckily I like seeing Idris Elba battling a lion. And so, yeah, this is just a movie that I enjoy. I do have a few issues with it, like the entire lion motivation thing. Is probably a little bit Jaws the Revenge to me. It felt a little bit Jaws the Revenge but it didn't. But at least it was self-aware that it was a bit ridiculous. I don't necessarily like it when they do the Jaws the Revenge treatment. But of all the movies on this list, actually, this one might be the best shot one. There's a bunch of long takes that will go on for like 4 minutes. Because, yeah, that's just the way they shot it. They shot it really cleverly. Like, and so, they'll walk into a house. You're gonna follow them into the house. They're looking at pictures. You're still gonna be following them. There's a lot of shots like that. Even in the action sequences. Like, you have him, running out of a house, getting the attention of a lion. And it follows him all the way out to the guys. Like, it doesn't cut away or anything like that. It's one continuous take. And so, this, of all the movies on this list, I think this might be the best shot movie on this list. And so, I enjoyed Beast. I don't know if you guys like this sort of stuff, but as for me, I enjoyed it. Number 20, kicking off the top 25, Jurassic World Dominion. This is a movie that I really enjoy. And I had a lot of fun with. Maybe. A lot of people have criticisms of it. And in my review, I would tend to agree with said criticisms. At the same time, I had a lot of fun with it. The novelty of this movie is seeing new Jurassic World characters meet with old Jurassic Park characters. I really enjoyed the movie Jurassic Park. It is, of course, one of my favorite movies of all time. And so when they're doing a movie like that, it's just fun. A lot of fun to see that. Now the problems I have with it is because the entire novelty of the franchise is to see dinosaurs on screen. And don't get me wrong, there are dinosaurs all over in this movie. But they're in the background. They're not the focus of the movie as they once were before. Second thing to talk about here is that I think the franchise just lost a little bit of itself. The original Jurassic Park is about the scientists going off to an island to see dinosaurs. And for whatever reason, they spent this movie and they made it a corporate spy espionage movie, which just seems like a bit of an odd choice. Almost made it an hour into filming, but that seems like a bit of an odd choice to make. At the same time, it is a lot of fun, so I do go positive on this movie, and I stand by that. But definitely, it could have been better, and so it was a bit frustrating to me, while also being really good. Anyways. Let's see. Alright, let's see here. Number 24, The Sea Beast. This is a Netflix original animated movie. Okay, this is a Netflix original animated movie that takes heavy influence from movies like How to Train Your Dragon. And so, ooh, camera's a bit shaky there. Okay. Anyways, this movie takes heavy influence from How to Train Your Dragon, and I think that in the end, it works well enough. It has all the things you want from a How to Train Your Dragon knockoff, which I don't really want a How to Train Your Dragon knockoff. How far I made it 55 minutes and 53 seconds in. My throat has gone dry again. It is 4:46 p.m. And so I'm drinking water a lot more than I was at the beginning of this video. Anyways. It has all the stuff you want from a How to Train Your Dragon knockoff movie, but it's a bit generic because it's based entirely around How to Train Your Dragon. You could probably predict where the story is headed. There's some nice animation here. So, a lot of you guys probably have never seen this movie, but, I enjoyed it enough for what it was. I enjoyed it enough. And, tied along those same lines, tied along right here, I give it the same exact score, but for entirely different reasons. Number 23, Death on the Nile. This is Kenneth Branagh's murder mystery follow-up to Murder on the Orient Express, a murder mystery from 2017. It's a follow-up to this movie, and we're going to get a sequel to this movie next year. And so, really, there are two kind of murder mystery franchises going on right now. There's this one, Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and then there's Rian Johnson's Knives Out movies. I like those movies a lot better than these movies. But I saw Death on the Nile, and it's fine. It's good enough. But yet again, it's just another one of these. And what really kills the movie for me is that it's a bit predictable. But then again, you do have a star-studded cast. Kenneth Branagh's in the film. You have interesting characters like Gal Gadot. You're invested into these characters. You're trying to figure out who the murderer is. And that's where the problem kicks in. The big problem is that this movie is a bit too predictable. I went into this movie not knowing who the killer is. But I was able to guess correctly who the killer was at the midpoint of the movie. And, it's just stuff like that just sours you on the movie. When the movie is supposed to be a murder mystery, it's not necessarily a mystery at all. It's a pretty predictable murder mystery when it comes to terms with that. And so that just sours me on it a little. It's watchable, it's enjoyable, but it is predictable. I could say that. Anyways. Number 22, Samaritan. This is a Sylvester Stallone superhero movie that I'm pretty sure they left on the shelf for a bunch of years. Finally made it, dropped it on Amazon, and another one that disappointed me, but it's still a good movie. Obviously, it has Sylvester Stallone, who is a great actor, playing a retired superhero, and a kid finds out that Sylvester Stallone is a superhero. And it's executed fine on screen. But because this movie, we were supposed to see it years ago, it did not feel like it was as satisfying as it should have been. It tries to do this mystery thing, and I don't think it works entirely well, but I was still pretty invested, and so that's a thumbs up on that side. And but the twist is pretty predictable, I would say. It's a not the best twist to give your movie when I'm really excited for it. Hold up. 3, 2, 1. I have made it an hour into filming officially. Okay, anyways. So, the movie is fine, Samaritan, but, it's just a bit... Forgettable's not the right word. Yeah, I think it's a bit forgettable, but I think it's a bit also generic. And so it's good. It has everything that I want from a Sylvester Stallone superhero movie that is interesting. And then it also has a bunch of things that just hold it back a little bit for me. And I think it could and should have been a lot better than it actually was. Number 21. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. This is the latest film in the Wizarding World franchise of films. And this is a movie that I enjoyed. I enjoyed this movie. What I really liked about this film was that it felt sort of like a spy thriller inside of the Wizarding World, which I never thought would have been a term that I would use to describe a film in the Harry Potter franchise. But here it really does feel like that. Also, I think Mads Mikkelsen as Grindelwald is a lot better than Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp felt a bit generic as casting, but I think this version of Grindelwald is a lot better. And I just think it's a pretty good little Fantastic Beasts movie. It certainly doesn't have the glory of all the other 8 main Harry Potter movies, but it's good for what it is. I still enjoyed this movie, and but I'd say the problem with it is that what made in nature the Fantastic Beasts franchise isn't particularly as interesting as the actual Harry Potter movies. And another problem is that the Harry Potter movies make you want to explore this world. The Fantastic Beasts movies have some really dark, nasty stuff happen, and you're just like, no, I do not want to go into this world. I do not want to explore this world. And so, that stuff like that just held it back. But it's still a nice little addition to the Fantastic Beasts franchise. Number 20, Avatar: The Way of Water. This is the latest James Cameron movie, the sequel to the highest grossing movie of all time. Of all of the movies on this list, this is probably the best looking movie on this list. The visuals, just like the first film, are absolutely stunning. It's just what computers are able to do and create CGI like this. That's what I really enjoyed about this movie. Another thing to talk about here is that James Cameron has the ability to just draw a story out for a long time and make a 3-hour epic. And that's exactly what this is. It's a 3-hour epic sweeping Avatar story, just like the first Avatar. It's a movie where it just draws out big emotions when you get to the end, and it does that properly. I do have a few problems with this movie though. I think the middle hour of the 3-hour runtime, the middle hour focuses a little bit too much on the Way of Water. And because of that, Quaritch is not seen for at least 40 minutes. We spend a bunch of time learning about the Way of Water, and you have Jake and Neytiri's kids dealing with bullies. When I think Avatar, I don't think bullies. I think big, stunning visual effects with awesome action sequences, and none of that's particularly in the middle of the film. And so, another thing to talk about here is that I thought Jake and Neytiri were a bit sidelined, and the lead was given to their kids, especially their younger son. I thought was the lead character, fit more as the lead character of the movie inside of this movie, and it's just really odd to me. And so I enjoyed this movie really well. I have a bunch of positive things to say about it. Performances are just as great. Visuals are just as great. CGI is great. Awesome slam bang action third act finale. It's all great. But I think it could have been better if it just maybe had maybe a bit more satisfaction at the end. Because another problem I have with this movie, I'm saying this from the top of my head, so it sounds a bit weird. Another thing about this movie, at the end of the movie, it doesn't feel like they solved the actual problem running throughout it. Or not running throughout the movie, but that led to the final battle. And so if this was the next episode of an Avatar TV show, this wouldn't be a problem. But as an actual movie, it does not stand on its own very well. And so, yeah, it's good. But it's not as good as I hoped it would be. And so, yeah. Alright, number 19, The Bad Guys. This is a DreamWorks film that is a great mix of Ocean's 11 and Zootopia. Put it together, you get The Bad Guys. And I really enjoyed this movie. This is it has a nice little animation style in which it reminded me much like the other DreamWorks movie that came out here, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It reminded me of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I think this is better animation for DreamWorks to put in their films from now on, or at least these adventure films from now on. And so this is one that I really, really enjoyed. It has fun heists all throughout it. It's a fun little movie. But I think that if you hear people out there, that is my dad talking. So basically, you have where was I? I was at The Bad Guys, right? So basically, you have this set of characters that try their best to be good, and I think that the movie executes it pretty well. Now, in the middle, they have this one heist where I could pretty well piece together what was going on in the rest of the movie. I could piece together who the real villain was in the movie. But I still think that this is a really good film. And this movie came out on my dad's birthday. And so that's a little bit fun random fact to put in this movie. Anyways. Number 18, Uncharted. This is the video game movie that came out early this year, starring Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg in this film. And I think they're a bit miscast as the two characters that they actually do play. But if you take that away, just take this on its own terms as not based off of an Uncharted game, which I did, I think that it's a really fun adventure. I think Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg play off of each other really well in this movie. Both of them have certain charismatic... They're both charismatic in their own ways. And it's just a fun little adventure film that I think is definitely not one of the best video game movies of all time. It's just trying to be this mid-tier B-movie video game movie. I think it does that pretty well, and so I enjoyed it for what it was. And a lot of you guys, if you're Uncharted fans, you might think that this movie sucks, but I enjoyed it for what it was. What's next? Let's see. Number 17, The Lost City. So, if you don't know what this is a rom-com action adventure movie from March. The movie stars Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock, two A-list actors, and the villain is Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself, and I just really enjoyed this movie. At its core, it feels like it's sort of a 21st century take on the movie Romancing the Stone, which is basically Robert Zemeckis' take on Indiana Jones from the 80s, and it's basically that in the 21st century. Now, I think Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock naturally give charismatic performances that I really enjoy watching on screen. And so, it's a movie that I just really enjoyed. But I've also had no desire to rewatch it. I just enjoyed it for what it was. 16, Minions: The Rise of Gru. Now, this is a Despicable Me spin-off about the Minions. And it is one of my favorite movies in the Despicable Me franchise. I'm not really a big fan of the original Minions movie. That's probably the worst Illumination movie to me. The problem with that movie was that they centered the movie around characters that don't even talk. They just have a gibberish language. I really need another water. It is 5:01 p.m. right now. I made it 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 6 seconds into filming. And so, this is a movie that the original Minions was centered around characters that don't even talk, and that just seemed like a really odd choice to me. But then we have Minions: The Rise of Gru here, and it's just a really, really good Despicable Me movie. A nice addition here. Because they added Gru into the mix, a young Gru, I think that made this movie a little bit better, because you have a character who could actually speak and change throughout the course of the story. At the beginning, he's a bit more cynical, and he grows and changes, learns to trust others by the end of it, and become a better supervillain, which I never thought would be that much of a compelling arc to give him. It also has a fun set of characters in this vicious 6 group, which I just thought it's a lot of fun spending time with those characters. And yeah, this is just a really fun, nice little film. Is it the best? Now, is it one of the best movies of this year? It still has all the low-hanging fruit, so obviously not. It's at number 16, yeah. But it's still good for what it was, to me at least. Alright. Number 15, kicking off the top 15, Smile. This is a movie a horror movie that came out around my birthday, and it's a film that I was going into it expecting just some generic horror stuff. The trailers didn't really win me over all that much. And, yeah, this is a film that I thought was a little bit much better than I was expecting. At the center of it, our lead character has an actual backstory, actual motivation for why she is so broken throughout the movie. And what I really enjoyed about this movie is that it's really effective at what all horror movies are doing. Of course, a staple of horror movies are jump scares, and this movie has jump scares written all over it. And what I mean by that is that it doesn't rely on jump scares in order to give the audience a reaction. Sometimes it'll just be silence. And then maybe it's fine. Half of the time it's fine. There's no jump scare. It's just, it made you wonder in silence if something was about to happen. And it's fine. And it was really effective at doing things like that. From there, you get an interesting little curse that happens in the movie, and how our lead character would try to break it. I was hoping there was a different ending than the one that they actually gave us, but I still enjoyed what they did with this film. Is it the best movie of the year? The best horror movie of the year? No, obviously not. But I think it did exactly what it was trying to do. Just wish it had a better ending. It might have been placed a lot higher up on this list if that were the case. Alright. Number 14. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse. Multiverse of Madness. This is Wong from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And he's the guy in Phase 4 that has appeared in everything in Phase 4. Like, literally everything. Like, and so, basically, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is the first MCU movie of this year that I'm actually one of the very few people that enjoys Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But, it definitely could have been better. I'll say it definitely could have been better. But, it's still very good. Still a good movie. At its core, I think what it did really well was it successfully made an effective horror movie inside of the MCU. It has jump scares, it has gore, it has a bunch of things that, and I love that they let Sam Raimi go wild making this movie. And Sam Raimi is not using his Spider-Man skills, he's using his horror movie skills, in particular Evil Dead skills, and so that's what I really enjoyed about this movie. It can be really funny at times, and you also have some nice cameos with the Illuminati. They're definitely wasted. They're all killed immediately after they're introduced, but it's still fun to see some of these characters on screen. The fun thing is that I think John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, I'm pretty sure a fan made that up, and it actually worked. Like, and so it's a lot of fun with that. From there, it's fun to, as you see these visuals where America Chavez is opening a portal and her and Doctor Strange are like flying through the multiverse. That's just a lot of fun to me. And so, this is not the best comic book movie of this year. This movie could have been a lot better. Could and should have been a lot better. But, for what it was worth, I still really enjoyed what they did with it. Alright. Number 13, Lightyear. This is Buzz Lightyear. This is a Buzz Lightyear movie. So, the context of which this movie is told is that it is told, the very beginning, is told, this is the movie that Andy went to go see that made him love Buzz Lightyear, made him his favorite character. And in nature, the actual nature of this movie, I don't feel like this is the movie Andy would actually love for him to love Buzz Lightyear, but it's still a really good animated movie. A big part of that is just, it's fun to see Buzz Lightyear as an actual spaceman, not the toy, but an actual spaceman, and that's just fun in nature. From there, I think that the movie is given an interesting premise about him accidentally stranding a bunch of people on a planet, and in the process, trying to get back to Earth, and he has a nice little character growth in the movie. The reason this movie is not in my top 10 of the year, it probably would have been, is that the big problem with this movie is the villain twist. I think the villain, what was it? The villain Zurg. I think the big twist does not work and sort of leaves a sour taste in your mouth. And, that just didn't work all that well with me. And so, maybe could have been a little bit better if there was a better villain. Either way, still a fun, new, different addition to the Toy Story franchise. Number 12, The Gray Man. This is an action thriller on Netflix and one of the most expensive Netflix movies to date. This movie, what attracted me towards it is that it's directed by the Russo brothers. The directors for Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. That's as good of directors as you could get making an action movie. It stars Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. That sounds awesome. And it's just sort of this generic enough action thriller that is more expensive. This movie has a $200 million budget, and you have all these drone shots that they didn't add anything. They didn't make the movie better, so I don't understand. You also have, like, the opening action sequence. You have these, like, fireworks popping up everywhere. And these fireworks popping up everywhere. You have smoke effects. And that just seems like a big hassle to make an action sequence like this. When, I mean, it doesn't need to be like that. That doesn't add anything to the movie. You could just have simple action sequences. This movie would probably be in the same spot as it is now. And so it's just a bit baffling to me. It's a good version of the generic action thriller, but not necessarily one of the best action thrillers. You would think because the Russo brothers are directing it, it would like change the trajectory of action movies forever. No. It's just one of these other action movies. Alright. We're almost at the top 10. Number 11 is Nope. This is the very first rated R movie that I saw in the theater. And so I have a certain fondness for this film simply because of that. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Jordan Peele has always been sort of an interesting director, an interesting horror movie director, and he has made this movie this year, which is a throwback to classic 80s sci-fi movies about aliens. Close Encounters, E.T., etc. I could go on. But classic 80s science fiction movies while also being sort of a horror movie. It falls more into the sci-fi genre, though. This is a film that what I really enjoyed about it is that it made our characters feel like real people. That you would probably know in real life. So the way people react, it's not like every single horror movie where somebody opens up a creepy door and walks through anyway. It's not that kind of characters. They encounter something creepy and they say, nope, I'm out of here. That is how all normal people would probably act. I don't know if normal people would act that way. That's certainly how I would be. But I thought that they just made these characters a lot more believable than a bunch of other horror movie characters. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice little sci-fi movie. And now we will move on into the top 10. I've been filming for an hour, 22 minutes, and 54 seconds. This is a long video, but it takes a lot of time to film something like this. I will do this again next year, probably. Anyways. Alright. We'll kick off the top 10 with The Adam Project. This is... The screen in which my notes are taken is starting to run out of battery, and so I need to do this a bit quicker. Number 10, The Adam Project. This is a Netflix original action movie, sci-fi action movie, starring Ryan Reynolds, and I just had an absolute blast with this film. At its core, it's about a boy who is missing his father. And they do this thing at the end that's so gut-wrenching. It draws out so many big emotions. Adding to that, it has a fun concept about an older guy meeting his younger self and time traveling. I love time travel stories, so I was all on board for it. I think that this is just a really good movie that it was just able to draw out some big emotions while having the awesome sci-fi action. Another thing here, it also has a great cast. Of course, you got Ryan Reynolds in the lead, but you also have like Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, Zoe Saldana. They're just all in this movie, and I just really enjoyed their presence on screen. Number 9, Black Adam. This is Black Adam, and this is a movie that I really enjoyed. I had an absolute blast with this film. It's just trying to be a lot of fun, and I think it's really good at being a lot of fun. this is a film that it frustrates me a little bit because of the stuff going on with the WB. Like, there's a mid-credit scene with Henry Cavill's Superman. Shocked me. Henry Cavill gets fired, which renders Black Adam's post-credit scene just unnecessary. But anyways, Black Adam is just a really fun movie. I like these sort of The Rock blockbusters. I like a lot of them, and so naturally I really enjoy it. It has all the awesome action, the flashy characters, the fun things you want from a film in this franchise. It's funny, it's fun, it has all the action. I think the new characters in the Justice Society are really, really good. I'm not talking about Atom Smasher or Cyclone. I'm talking about like Hawkman, who has this really great back and forth with Black Adam that I enjoyed throughout the film. And you have Pierce Brosnan, James Bond playing Dr. Fate, who's just a great character who's like amused by everything going on in the film because he can like see the future. I just really enjoyed what they did with this film. Number 8, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio movie from this year. So about more than an hour ago I said we'd get to this movie. We have finally gotten to this movie. And so while Disney's Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio is one of the worst movies of the year, bottom 3, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is one of my top 10 movies of this year. Anyways, I think this is just a much better version of Pinocchio that is, just in nature, much more distinct than Pinocchio, the other Pinocchio, and 1940s Pinocchio, and any other version of Pinocchio that we've gotten, really. It's just really good at succeeding at telling this really dark version of Pinocchio. And it just does such a good job at doing that, distinguishing itself. But then as dark as it is, it also has some heart to it, some emotion inside of this movie, as you have this, basically a father and to his son. A son that loves his father, but his father doesn't necessarily love him back. And once he goes missing, his father tries desperately to find him. It just draws out so many emotions, the story in nature. And like, why, and you ask these questions like, why are humans behaving so cruel towards this puppet? And so it just draws out all the big emotions. It is very good. Much better than the other Pinocchio this year, certainly. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it. Number 7 is The Batman. This is Matt Reeves' Batman movie that I just had, and I just think is very well done. This is Matt Reeves could do a bunch of great stuff. He did some Planet of the Apes movies where they could be totally ridiculous and play it dead serious. And it just does so good at making movies like that. And so this is a comic booky movie that about a guy in a bat suit beating up people. And he plays it dead serious, and in doing so we get the darkest version of Batman that we've gotten. But the darkest version of Batman that we've gotten is the Batman that I've been waiting for. I love these detective stories about Batman. I think that Batman is destined to be like this detective guy. I think it does that pretty well. I never thought Robert Pattinson would be cast as Batman properly, but it did. It worked pretty well. And so that's just really cool. How he's able to perfectly cast somebody that you would never think would be cast as Batman. From there, you got a bunch of flashy standout characters, such as the Penguin here, who is one of the standout characters of the movie. Or you also get the Riddler, who is a much darker version of the Riddler, depicted as a serial killer. And so I just thoroughly enjoyed it. One of the best comic book movies this year. I had a few issues with it, but that doesn't take away from my absolute enjoyment of this movie. Number 6 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This is, to me, the best MCU movie this year, and it truly surprised me. Ryan Coogler was just able to make a coherent, good movie while also paying tribute to a character you enjoyed as well as a real-life actor who died. This movie was held such a heavy burden. From the death of the lead actor Chadwick Boseman or COVID's pandemic, both of those fell onto this movie, and it was just dealt such a heavy hand. I would have never thought they could make a satisfying movie called Black Panther without Black Panther. But they found a way to do just that. Ryan Coogler told this story that paid tribute to T'Challa, as well as Chadwick Boseman, and even make a new Black Panther without having it to feel unsatisfying. I thoroughly enjoyed all the ideas in this movie that were executed really well. I think that all the performances are really good, especially Angela Bassett's. And this is one of the most emotional, heavy, weighty films in the entire MCU. And so I thoroughly enjoyed what they were able to do with this movie. It is just an epic in cinema. Anyways, we are now going to move on to the final stretch, the top 5 of the year. Alright. I've made it an hour, 31 minutes, and 55 seconds into filming. Number 5 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I just really enjoyed Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I think it's just a fun video game adventure that's a great follow-up to an already great, fun video game adventure. And it removes all the stuff that didn't work in the original. Obviously, it's a road trip movie where they make a billion jokes about how Sonic is fast, and Sonic doesn't actually go all that fast in the movie. And this movie revises that. You have a great fun adventure by bringing in Tails and Knuckles. Tails is obviously fun with Sonic, but Knuckles is also really fun and funny. Gets all these little laughable bits in the film that just make him stand out. Jim Carrey is obviously great as Dr. Robotnik. I just really enjoyed what they were able to do to follow up the original. And this is just another fun adventure that I enjoy whenever I watch it. Put it all together, one of the more rewatchable movies of the year. Number 4 is Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. This is the follow-up to Rian Johnson's Knives Out. And so I talked earlier about Death on the Nile, and I think this franchise, this Knives Out franchise, is a lot better than Kenneth Branagh's Murder Mystery franchise. And so, because this is a much more effective, engaging, and entertaining film. Obviously, as a star-studded cast, you have Danielle Craig, who literally plays Among Us in this movie. And then you also have Catherine Hahn, you have Dave Bautista, you have Edward Norton, just all these A-listers. And it's fun to see them interact in this film. And so, that was just a really fun element to put in here. And then, add to the mix, it's fun to see Daniel Craig as the detective because it's so different from what he has done in James Bond that it's just different enough that it works pretty well. And also, adding on to that, it's a very engaging and entertaining. When you have to interpret everything you see in the movie, it's just very cool, very good. And then once it starts giving out answers, it's so satisfying. And it's an unpredictable murder mystery where you cannot tell who you could trust, who the killer is. And as for my experience, I could not tell who the killer was or who you could trust. And so I just thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a perfect murder mystery sequel to an already perfect murder mystery film. Kicking off the top 3, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This is my favorite animated movie of the year and my favorite film in the Shrek franchise. I think that it was able to take all of the fun elements of the Shrek movies as well as Puss in Boots, put it into this movie, and it just is really good. Of all the movies in the Shrek franchise, I think this one best utilizes the fairy tale aspect of this franchise. You throw in Goldilocks, you throw in Goldilocks and Three Bears, you throw in these other fairy tales I've actually never heard of. That is just, it's just a lot of fun in this film. And so, I thoroughly enjoyed what they did with it. Another thing to talk about here with this movie is that it's easily the best looking, best animated film of the entire franchise. Like The Bad Guys, this movie has a Spider-Verse animation style that I think works very well in DreamWorks. DreamWorks movies should have animation like this from now on. And what I really think worked in this movie were the characters. Characters like Kitty Softpaws, I didn't care for much in the original Puss in Boots, but then all of a sudden now I care about Kitty Softpaws in this movie. And so I thoroughly enjoyed what they did with this movie. Overall, I would say maybe the best movie in the Shrek franchise. Our runner-up, Elvis. This is... Shoot. We are almost done. 2 movies to talk about left. Our runner-up is Elvis. This is a biopic about Elvis that I didn't actually see until it went on streaming. And I thoroughly enjoyed what they did with this film. At its core, it is sort of a bit of a character study of Elvis. And I think Austin Butler was perfectly cast to be in this movie. So, he was in other things before this. You're just like, oh, he wasn't there, oh, he wasn't there. But this was his breakthrough performance where I just thought he knocked it out of the park as Elvis, who is such a flashy character. I think Baz Luhrmann brings a ton of energy into this movie. And it's just... I think it just knocked it out of the park. One of the best biopics that I have seen. It's just really, really good at doing stuff like this. It could also draw out some emotions while also being so cartoony and flashy. It's one of the most exhausting movies of this year, but also it's one of the most emotional movies of this year as well. And because of that, it's one of my favorite biopics of all time. We have made it to the final stretch. We've made it to my number 1 Best Picture winner. Number 1 movie of 2022 is Top Gun Maverick. I love Top Gun Maverick. It's just really, 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 really good. And it takes everything that was so fun, energetic about the original, and just makes it better in this movie. And that's what really elevates this film. I think it does things so well, and it pays off perfectly. Maverick's journey is so moving and emotional. The original Top Gun had great characters who are memorable and iconic, and the characters in this movie are just as iconic and memorable. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it. This movie, Tom Cruise spent years trying to make sure it was right. And making sure it wasn't released to streaming. It had a theatrical release. And it is quite the experience in the theater. He learned how to fly a jet in order to entertain the audience. And they found a way to have the best jet action we have ever seen. into which the third act is so satisfying, and it makes you feel good by the end of it. For me, this is just a great movie. Not just one of the greatest movies of this year, not one of the highly praised movies of this year. This is just one of the greatest movies of all time. And so, with all of that said, this is my favorite movie of the year 2022. Alright, so, you have made it to the end of this video. And that is remarkable. This video is an hour and 40 minutes long, ranking all 45 movies I saw of the year. Man, I've been talking for a long time. This was one continuous take. And so, yeah. This was my ranking of all the movies of 2022. I just want to thank you guys for sticking around to the end of this very, very long video. And be sure to like this video if you are up for the challenge. Down below in the comment section, share all of the movies that you saw of 2022. Rank them down below in the comment section. Go over on my channel. I have a lot more rankings like this that are actually edited. Thank you for sticking around to the end. I will see you guys in the next one.